various other games. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for my misadventures in XSplit. Apparently, living in the middle of nowhere will make XSplit hate you and make you pay for it. So I have paid for having shitty country internet. Let's do introductions again, since I do believe that most of them were lost during the shitty-ass internet experiment. All right. From my left to right, we have Egal Metro.
Hey, thanks for having me on, buddy.
Anytime, man. You're always welcome here. Jason Brazel.
It's Brazil, but thank you. Hello.
The lovely Miss Steam.
Hello, boobs.
Yes, boobs. Boobs. You come here for the video games, you stay for the boobs. I mean, you absolutely cannot go wrong with that. And my good friend, St. Clair.
Hey guys, how you all doing? You feel good? You feel okay?
Yeah. And to my 7 viewers, I would like to autistically apologize, first by saying "ree" and secondly by saying thanks for sticking around. And no, I'm not high. I'm just tired. I've been up since it was dark. So Adrian Blom in the chat asked if I was high. So.
Mr. Rose.
All right. While I try to figure out ways around my shitty internet, how's everybody doing? Holy shitty gals naked.
Oh, usually naked when I stream. You know that.
All right.
I'm a little bit irritated. I wanted this XSplit to work because I wanted everybody to see the videos that we were going to be talking about, but it looks like that's not going to happen.
Probably not, and I would like to very much apologize. And I know you're not supposed to apologize more than 3 times, but I'll do it 50. I feel really bad, especially since this is my channel, and you know,
Starting to sound
everybody
Canadian.
watching. Yeah. Everybody who watches me knows that I'm a stickler for punctuality and presentation. So I would like to apologize for the 60th time. I'm very sorry. All right. So a little bit of background on the Shadow of War. It is the sequel to the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game. And it is a stealthy role-playing action-adventure themed game set in Middle-earth.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. The mechanics are very much kind of a combination of Assassin's Creed and Arkham Asylum. And, well, with the first game, what it prided itself on were these procedurally generated enemies, these what they called the Nemesis system, which basically created unique heroes for the player to encounter and to beat. You know, they all had their individualized names, faces, armor, weapons, and personality. And I thought this was terrific. They would even have histories with the player. And
oh yes, probably one of my favorite aspects of that was if you killed one and he got away.
he survived.
Yes, exactly. He would come back, usually horribly mutilated. I remember one time I had killed a guy 3 times, and he got away all 3 times, and he came back with like a burlap sack over his head. It was completely and totally hilarious.
It's so many fucking scars on his face that he had to hide his face because it was so embarrassing. Yeah, basically the name that they were going for was this cheated death mechanic. These orcs could cheat death. You could presumably kill them by wiping out their health, but they might survive.
Yes,
and come back to get revenge on you.
Yes, and probably one of my favorite things was in the early days of the game, they had a bug that even if you decapitated them, they could still get away. And so, there was quite a few people who I decapitated and saw them later whilst running around. I'm all like, didn't I cut your fucking head off? And then, you know, you would cut their head off again, and they'd come back with a burlap sack over their face.
Yeah, they eventually patched that out. But
It's
yeah,
it was still quite funny.
yeah.
Yeah, that would
Apparently,
be.
it still occasionally happens. My favorite bug that still exists in the game is if you identify a captain as he's having his head cut off. So if he's being executed,
Mhm.
He will stay alive, and he will fight you with his head decapitated.
What?
I'm gonna. I actually. We could show that if anybody can screen share, but that's a really fun little bug that a friend of mine called Uruk's Hollow found. He's been helping me in doing my Let's Play of Shadow of Mordor, looking for all the tips and tricks to getting the enemy characters just right.
All right, let me just do a quick Google search. Videos. Oh, that's right. They're called Uruks, not orcs. Duh.
Well, an Uruk is a type of orc. Actually, I think that in Tolkien's actual work, Uruk and orc they're synonymous. There's no difference between them, but the media always makes them different. The movies and television and book and stuff not done by Tolkien, video games, etc.
Yes, the expanded universe of Lord of the Rings has kind of evolved into its own thing, much like what the expanded universes of like Star Wars or Star Trek.
That's the video in the side chat. So if anybody has the opportunity to screen share, we should take a look at that. But yeah, another good cool mechanic is in video games, your character can always die, but then they respawn, right? You always
Right.
respawn at a different point if you get killed. And this game kind of plays around with that and makes it so that the orc that ends up killing you remembers that he killed you and gets really fucking pissed off when he sees you again.
Didn't I already kill you? Which is like, I know it sounds like I'm bad at doing accents, which I kind of am, but that is how bad the accents were in this game, by the way. The voice acting was spot on, but they needed some accent coaches.
Yeah, all the orcs sounded like they were from South London.
Very much so. And had been smoking for 30 years.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a clip of a decapitated captain.
Yeah, this is the glitch that still exists in the game. It's too bad there's no sound, but it doesn't really need sound.
No. This is solely a sight gag.
All right, so this is a slow motion of a captain getting his head removed.
Wait, the blood isn't splatting out.
He appears to still be alive. Yeah, he is still alive.
It's a glitch.
Yeah.
Basically, you can enter what's called the Wraith World, which to identify characters in game.
Ew, he's a console peasant?
And you can zoom in. You can press a button to zoom in and identify a captain, which would be the guys in red. So here's a captain executing another captain. And if you zoom in and identify the captain being executed, as he's being executed, he actually stays alive.
Oh, fun.
It's a glitch in the game.
I couldn't imagine a worse hell.
Is
His head's actually stuck there.
Oh, wow. He's going to fight you now. And damn, I was actually hoping the brand would be there. Just a glowing blue handprint floating above the neck.
Yeah, if you brand the headless captain, he will drop dead shortly afterward.
Branding was probably my favorite mechanic. Like, you could start and own your entire orc army, which was a really, really good pardon my stutter, but it was a really, really good mechanic because you got to sort of like move your
basically what you have to explain what branding is. What branding is you could slam your hand down onto a captain's head and place a handprint on them, and that essentially brainwashes them to fight for you. This is a late game power that you could get. So you could brainwash different orcs to fight for you, to fight against other orcs, which is really fun. You could have a kind of civil war.
Yeah, and probably the best part was you could pick and choose like orcs with specific abilities that you like or lacking specific weaknesses, and move him up to the chain of command. And you could have some kind of unstoppable god orc as what's known as a war chief, which is like their guys in charge.
Yeah, there were three basic ranks, and there are basically three ranks in the game. You had the grunts, the low-ranking soldiers who weren't very powerful. The unranked soldiers, the masses. Then you had captains, and above the captains you had war chiefs. And the war chiefs were always identified by having the best armor and the best skills.
Yes.
In the society.
Yes, and well, all right. So I think we could move on to talking a bit about the sequel now that we've kind of established the Shadow of Mordor's unique mechanics. The thing about Shadow of War is not only do you have an orc army that you can brand, you can actually command them now. You can invade various strongholds, and it forms a whole unique story, which is the really cool part, where you have your unique captains versus your unique orc army versus versus yourself, and it creates a branching story completely unique to your own experience.
Yeah, basically, there's a lot more personality traits available. Urks can have characters who they're like blood brothers with, so they can have friendship with other orcs. They could have specific rivalries with other orcs. Some orcs could actually save your life in certain situations, we saw. And there's not only orcs in this game, there's also trolls, Ologhai. And they're a part of that system too. So not only do you have orcs, you have these trolls, which are also a part of that, with their own unique faces, names, personalities, things like that. And the captain generation is basically like House of Cards. It's a good way to describe it. These captains are generated based on their history. And what that means is how an orc becomes a captain and then becomes a war chief, and the experiences they go through will affect the type of skills that they have. And so you're going to have a lot of different unique sorts of characters that you can have. I remember one of my favorite characters in my current Let's Play was a guy who nearly killed me. He was a cook. Basically, the cook in Uruk's Hollow, which was one of the orc towns. One of the captains was actually a cook, and he was actually reasonably powerful, which I thought was kind of funny.
Having been a cook, I can tell you that we are very powerful. We know how to use knives, motherfucker.
Yeah, so there are different types of characters that you have in this society, and their armor, weapons, and titles and things like that will tell you a little bit about what kind of character they are. They also have specific strengths and weaknesses and different skills that they have, different weapon sets, for example. Basically, the idea is to create lots of unique and interesting characters. And I really wish that we could show these guys at least the gameplay reveal.
Yeah. Well, I will work on my bit rate over the next week or so, and I'll probably do a little shout out to Shadow of War on my next show. So hopefully I can get XSplit working at 100%, or at least good enough that it won't buffer every 3 seconds. Again, I'm sorry about that.
Right, so you won't be able to do that this time around.
No, believe me, I've been asking people and searching the interwebs, and there's absolutely nothing I can do. I just have to play with settings until I find the right bit rate, and hopefully it won't be, 1935 Generation 1 TV quality.
Well, I suppose that also means that screen sharing is out for showing that.
What I could do, since there is no audio, or there won't be audio, what I could do is pick, say,
while he's thinking about that, you might recognize that we're not talking very much about the story in these games, and that's because the story isn't very impressive.
No,
these are AAA games made by Warner Brothers. The story isn't going to be that well written. The story is a catalyst for the action in the game. That's all it is.
It's been in my experience. Either the game has to have a really, really good story, or it has to have really, really good gameplay. And it seems they went the other route, which is good.
They went
yeah. I mean, when you amp up, as he was saying, a really amazing story or really great gameplay, that's the absolute best part about the Shadow series is they're trying to craft new and unique gameplay rather than a cutting edge story, because it's really just Lord of the Rings. I mean, when you want to talk about the story, you can say Lord of the Rings and then you have the story down. It's orcs versus people, and
the world already exists, so you don't have to go too in depth.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting. They didn't put too much into the story in the first game, and players would actually use this nemesis system to create individualized stories with these orcs. That became the story, or at least the interesting part of the story. And you had, at the end of the game, you had the final nemesis. Right before you... there's a mission. It's the second to the last mission of the game, and you're fighting one of the biggest bosses in the game. And before you fight him, before you assault his fortress, there's a group of orcs defending it, and the orc character leading that defense will be the orc character who you had the most interaction with in the game. Does that make sense? So basically, you're talking about creating these stories with these orcs, these histories. They're becoming more powerful as the game progresses. You're becoming more powerful. You can kill them, but they could cheat death. They kill you, and then you can come back, and they get pissed. You get pissed. You're developing stories with these characters, and the orc character who you had the most interaction with actually appears as a mini boss at the end of the game.
That's kind of cool.
Defending the main boss, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
there's more of those interactions in this new game. Basically, the orcs who you have the most interaction with will be placed into cutscenes having to do with the actual story of this game.
All right. So hey, Falcon Millennial, if you talk about Call of Duty again, you're gonna get banned. Fuck that pleb shit.
Call of Duty sucks. I actually, I'm not watching the comment.
I obsessively watch the chat, especially in my streams, because I have to know what people are saying. I'm kind of weird like that, but I have never understood the allure of first-person shooters.
I love first-person shooters, but it has to be the right one.
Okay, here's the allure. 10-year-olds.
No, we were 14 when we started. God.
I think I was maybe about
Okay, pull yourself.
God, I think I was probably like maybe 13, 14 when I first played GoldenEye. That was my real first experience with first-person shooters, and I had a lot of fun. But then I hit like 16, 17, and I needed more than just running around and shooting my friends, because that seemed to be all that first-person shooters had to offer me.
Well, for my friends anyway, we started on Quake Team Fortress, and that was because there wasn't exactly a lot of online games at the time, and that one was quite, I'd say, revolutionary, because you could actually have teams against each other, and with the class system, it was a lot of fun. And the thing that really stuck us around was when people started making custom games, like custom TF, and you could start adjusting it. The newer generation, the younger kids today, they would know Team Fortress 2. That is spawned from that.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Steam, are you wearing headphones?
No.
So your sound is coming out of your speakers.
Yeah, kinda. Well,
Do you think it
I'm
would be
not plugged
possible
into
to...
speakers because then it creates an echo.
Right. Do you think it would be possible to screen share some Shadow of War videos? If you did that, do you think that would be possible?
Sure.
Because I think you're the only one that the sound will be
It
able to come
won't sound great. I just got to warn you. Unless you want me to because if I plug in my speakers, they are going to make a massive echo.
All right. Well, let's try it, okay?
All right. So you want me to do it without speakers first?
We'll see. I want the audience to be able to hear the sound. So follow that link in the side chat, and that's the video that I want you to
The high potentiality for a feedback loop.
Yes, yes, very much so. So we will cross our fingers and hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, I'll just mute Steam until she can exit out of what's causing the feedback loop, and I guess we'll.
All right, I'm just doing it without speakers, so people have a chance it won't. All right. So share out.
I really hope that this works just a little bit.
As do I. As do I. Holy shit! Do you have enough tabs open?
This is for my steampunk. This is for my steampunk research. So yeah.
What is steampunk research?
Okay, well, a bunch of SJWs are basically saying that steampunk is every ism under the book.
Oh God!
And
I'm
planning to. Everyone's making videos on Berkeley and on Bill Nye the Phil's guy, and I'm like, no, this is the most important thing. People are criticizing about the thing I like. That's the most important thing.
Exactly. All right, let's see if this...
Okay.
Boy, this is bad.
Oh,
Bad.
welcome to Z listing on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
That bad?
Well, actually, I mean, I can hear it, but I have ridiculously powerful headphones in, so.
Well,
right,
it's the stuttering video for me. I don't know about you guys.
Should I try with speakers?
Maybe. Let's see what happens.
Dun dun dun.
Also, try and full screen it.
Let me move this crap. Please don't smash.
I'm sure the chat's loving this.
Just setting them up.
I want the chat to know I love each and every one of you.
Well,
except Scotch if he's in there.
Yeah, and I would like to I would like to let the chat know that I am very, very sorry. I'm becoming Canadian today, folks. I'm going to apologize about 7,000 times. I just completely despise it when things go this wrong.
Okay, I've plugged
You
my.
deserve you deserve spank.
Okay.
All right. Dun dun dun.
Shadow of War is an epic third-person open-world action RPG and the sequel to the award-winning Shadow of Mordor.
This is a little bit better. Okay, full screen it.
Ah, okay. Just don't speak.
I won't. I'll sit
Right
back.
next to the speakers, it's like tearing my ears apart.
All right. So I am going to mute so we can do this.
Many hours into the game, where we will show you one example of the epic personal stories created through the next generation of the revolutionary Nemesis system. To save Middle-earth, we will be journeying deep behind enemy lines and using the new Ring of Power to forge an army and conquer Mordor from within. On the world map, we see the many regions we can conquer. Every one of these regions is a distinct environment with unique enemies and allies, including overlords, war chiefs, captains, followers, fortresses, strongholds, missions, and more. Today, we're going to attack and conquer the mountain valley of Saragost and take it from Sauron's overlord, Ur-Hakon, the Dragon Lord. Let's launch the assault. It's not only our enemies and the world that make the Nemesis system unique, it's also our followers. Ragdug the Ironmount has armoured cavalry that can charge through the flames of artillery fire. The Demolisher is a living battering ram with the power to smash enemy defences. With our followers at our side, we must first face the Stormbringer.
Right. I fought for you, bled for you, and you left me to die. But I was reborn with the power of the Dark Lord.
He has a history and personal grudge against us. He used to be part of our army before he betrayed us and joined the Dark Lord. He also carries a dark curse, which prevents us from using the power of the new ring.
Come, charge into the flames of your reckoning.
The Overlord has deployed multiple fort defenses, including siege beasts and flame archers.
No more fog! Ring! Ring!
Our first objective will be to break through the main gate.
All right, Steam. So if you would
Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, that one frame per second was destroying me.
Well, no.
You scared the shit out of me.
So if you'd like to go back to your old audio for
I've gone back to my old audio.
All right, cool. So all right. Okay, so basically what's happening here for everybody that is still watching, the idea is that you is that in this specific screenception.
Sorry.
It's perfectly all right. So for everybody who is still watching, the idea is that you have your own personal orc army that you build up work with, and then you can use it to assault and conquer land. It's kind of like an RTS meets a role-playing game meets The Last Shadow of Mordor. It's very, very intricate and very, very interesting. And hopefully at some point I will figure out this XSplit nonsense so I can do this properly.
Do you get control over the troops, or is it kind of an automated system where you get to choose who you bring along and they do their own thing?
You get to choose who you bring along, and for the most part, they behave pretty autonomously.
Okay.
And if you have any questions like that,
you only
just
worry
ask,
about yourself.
because I've watched a lot of footage of this game, probably more than anybody else, and I've seen a lot of question and answer sessions from the VP Mike DePlotter.
Yeah, it looks good so far.
Yeah. It's definitely something everybody watching should definitely check out. And so for the next little bit, I'd say we should be a little bit more entertaining. Sadly, I
take my shirt off. Not that entertaining.
Yeah. I don't think we have anybody who can cram dollars into your pants at the moment. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks for having me. I gotta get going and start preparing for the next stream.
All right, Yigal. It was a great pleasure to have you, and hopefully we can do it again under proper circumstances.
Yeah,
oh God,
absolutely.
I hope so. There's a lot of footage I want to watch together.
Yeah, and all right, so Steam. What would you say is your ideal kind of game?
Dark Souls.
Oh, I love Dark Souls.
And BioShock Infinite.
Ooh, BioShock Infinite. Now, BioShock Infinite is probably it's probably the polar opposite to Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, whereas they built an entire game around an amazing, cool mechanic. BioShock Infinite had this amazing story.
I know, this one's so good.
Well,
I before my ex-girlfriend stole my shit, I was the first time it was just it's still hard to explain. It just threw me back.
Yeah. I definitely like the sci-fi aspect of it. You know, the whole multiple dimensions, multiple realities. Exactly. It gets a little Doctor Who-ish in terms of its complexity, but if you can,
what makes it charming, actually.
I will not disagree. Its over complexity definitely adds to it. Whereas, you know what? Fuck it. Spoiler alert. It turns out you are the bad guy who is from the future and an alternate reality. On paper, I can't believe that made it past the paper stage. I honestly can't. At what meeting did somebody say, okay, here's the story. You're actually the bad guy from both another dimension and the future. How did he not get thrown out of the window like that meme?
No. But I tell you what, if SJWs want to know what racism is, fucking...
Yeah, and you were saying Dark Souls. That...
Yes.
She has a little shit. I always forget what those things are called. But yes. Yes.
The problem was this cost me about an extra tenner because they don't make these usually.
Yes. And sorry. Every time you reach up like that, it gets a little distracting.
I forget I have boobs. That's fine.
Yes. But typically when I play a role-playing game a la Dark Souls, I like very open world, very open-ended, very customizable story. It's, you know, your Elder Scrolls, your
Oh, Elder Scrolls. Yeah. Hang on. 1 minute. You're gonna.
yes. I do like things like Elder Scrolls and say Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic and that kind of stuff. But when I first played, awesome.
Yeah.
That is
Guess what?
great.
This thing actually teaches you how to speak Dragon Tongue as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, my ideal type of game would be games where you can actually create personalized stories, and that's why Shadow of War is so interesting to me, because you can create stories for these orc characters.
Yes.
It's actually it's a very good it would be a very good game to let's play, I think.
Oh,
when it
hands
comes
down,
out. But
because-
I love
because-
games with like similar to Mario. I like games with good customizable stories, and especially games that are moddable, so you can put in mods that enhance the story building elements of the game. So in that vein, my favorite game of all time has to be The Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion.
Oblivion was.
There you go.
And I'll tell you why. I think Oblivion is the greatest.
Hold on one second.
That's
Hold on one
awesome.
second. Yeah, yeah.
I think Oblivion is the best Elder Scrolls game in that regard, because in Morrowind and Skyrim, you started out with a character of destiny. Your character was destined to complete the main quest. In Morrowind, you are the Nerevarine. It's your duty to complete the main quest. In Morrowind, it is your destiny. Same with Skyrim. You are the Dragonborn, the Dovahkiin. It's your job to defeat Alduin. That is your purpose. You don't have that kind of pretension in Oblivion. In Oblivion, your character is some nobody, and you can create any kind of backstory that you want and any kind of forestory that you want.
Well, in terms of backstory, all Elder Scrolls have that same opening. You are some guy who has been arrested for something, which you know what, it's kind of become a trope. You're playing Elder Scrolls, you must have gotten arrested for something. But
I don't know. If the story's good, I don't really care about the trope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and but it's still like, you know, it's become a staple of the Elder Scrolls series, so it's still kind of charming to me. Like when I first loaded up Skyrim years ago when I first bought it, back when I was a console peasant. It starts off and you're on horseback, and I'm all like, or I'm sorry, you're in a horse-drawn carriage, and I'm like, oh shit, are we not in jail? Are we not in prison? Have we not been arrested? There's something wrong with this here, and it felt so out of place until I started talking, and I realized that we were on our way to be executed. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm playing Elder Scrolls.
Well, I really want to play Witcher. I really want to play it.
I've never played The Witcher, but I've heard good things about it.
Well, I didn't get to play it because my ex-girlfriend stole my game shit. But basically, I really want to play it. It looks so good.
Yes. I actually, you know what? Speaking of console peasants, the thing is it's because of Witcher that we have console peasant and PC gaming master race. It was because of Yahtzee Croshaw in his review of the very first Witcher, when he felt so out of place amongst this PC game that's solely supposed to be a PC game and designed for PC gamers. He actually coined the term PC gaming master race because he felt so out of place, and he felt like a peasant compared to this great, awesome game that was clearly above his station. And still to this day, I love that term, and I absolutely love that review. As far as gameplay, it seems to I've seen a bunch of Let's Plays of Witcher, and it seems to follow that Dark Souls style of gameplay where you stick and move and, roll out of the way. Yeah. But
the problem is that anything Dark Souls, I kind of fall for it. So even the moves, I still probably fall. I don't know. I to be honest, I'm more interested in story than the actual game, which is pretty bad, I know. But then again, I like stuff like Binding of Isaac, which is literally just gameplay. Toho, which is bullet hell. Like, oh my god, you have to dodge so much.
Have you? Speaking of story, have either of you played the Telltale series, specifically the Walking Dead incarnation of the Telltale games?
I never played any Telltale games.
Oh, you are missing out when you're talking story. I'm not a very emotional person. A lot of people will comment on my monotone voice and my lack of reaction most times. So I am almost a robotic human being. However, the story in the Telltale games, specifically The Walking Dead, I felt all of the feels. Like, I had never in my life been brought to tears by a video game. However, Telltale's Walking Dead was able to do it. I mean, in the final installment, the very final chapter of the first season of their Walking Dead, have you ever cried so hard that your face swelled up and turned red?
Yes.
No.
Oh, well, that happened to me at the end of Telltale's Walking Dead. I mean, just an amazingly moving game, because the story they crafted was so intricate and you felt almost as a part of this world. And so when things happened to the characters, it felt like it was happening to somebody you knew. It felt like it was somebody, that was there with you. Any specifically moving games for either of you?
Once again, Oblivion. I can still play Oblivion. I think it is a very beautiful game. It is the perfect sandbox if you want a mod. I think the story still holds up, even though it's a little bit hackneyed. Maybe that's why it holds up so well, actually. But it's such a beautiful game, and it is my favorite game of all time. Other than that, a game that I found particularly moving, the only game that ever made me cry was probably Majora's Mask the first time I played it. The Legend of Zelda.
Yes. No, I am familiar. That was one of the few Zelda games I didn't play. Pardon my stutter, but could you elaborate as to why this game moved you to tears?
I remember a specific story where you're reuniting a couple of siblings, and basically the way that the game works is you have 72 hours. You have 3 days to stop the moon from crashing down and destroying this city. There's a moon, there's a satellite, and it's falling to destroy this city, and you have 3 days to do it. But you have the ability to turn back time. So essentially what you're doing is you're trying to recruit these 4 giants who can basically catch the moon and throw it back up into space. It's a very strange kind of story, but you spend 3 days doing this side quest, and you're reuniting these 2 siblings together, and you see them reunite, and it's very breathtaking. It's very emotional. It caused me to cry a little bit, and then you turn back time, and they're not together anymore, which I thought was very sad. I was a kid the first time I played it, and basically a lot of, except for the giants, everything that you do when you turn back time to the beginning of the 3 days gets wiped away. So it's a little bit. It's kind of like a purgatory kind of game.
I've heard that comparison before. Steam, yourself?
It's hard for me to get moved by a lot of games. I haven't really played a lot of games. I've played games, but I haven't played a lot of games. But I haven't finished it yet. Ori and the Blind Forest. I haven't finished it yet, but the story plot so far, especially in the beginning, basically what happened was that the forest lost. The forest is dying, sort of thing, because it's lost one of its spirits. Bit weird, I know. And there's this big guy, Ori, and then there's little guy Neru, and basically Ori looks after Neru and all this stuff. And then what happened was that. Basically, because there was lack of food, because the forest was dying, all that stuff, Ori died. And then what happened was that Naru is now having to trying to save the forest in hopes of saving Ori. At the same time, it made me cry.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the game yet, though. So
yeah, it is amazing how we can get attached to a series of ones and zeros. Probably I would really like to. If I had a degree in psychology, I would probably want to spend a fair amount of time studying what exactly is the motivation behind a human being getting so attached to a series of ones and zeros. Because it seems to happen a lot. I have talked with several people who have cried at various games. Some people I even know are still like just distraught over the death of shit. I can't remember her name at the moment, but the death of the girl from Final Fantasy VII.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Still to this day, I will talk to people who are just utterly distraught over this death, and it is an amazing thing.
I never played any of the Final Fantasy games. I never found the style of gameplay to my taste.
I've never been big into turn-based role-playing games, with the exception of XCOM. Ooh, have either of you played XCOM?
No.
I've always been a big strategy guy. I do love my strategy. Of course, I turned St. Clair onto probably the greatest strategy game of all time, Crusader Kings.
Which you still haven't played with me.
Yeah.
You said you would at 500. You still haven't.
Yeah. What do you?
Anytime. Anytime.
Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
It's fine by me.
All right, cool. Just remind me. I have a lot going on.
Oh shit, I'm gonna forget too.
That's why we haven't played yet. We both keep forgetting.
We're kind of similar people in that way.
Yes.
We are kind of similar people in the way we think.
Yes. So as far as stories, Steam, do you have any specific like non-video game stories that you would like to see made into a game?
I think.
I do. I have an idea.
Oh well. While Steam thinks, Sinclair.
A game that I would a story that I would like to see turned into a game that hasn't yet, in my opinion, or as far as I know, not in my opinion, but as far as I know, it hasn't been made into a game, is playing a wolf alpha male protecting his clan, his pride, whatever they call it.
Pack.
Yeah, his pack. And creating a story based around being a wolf alpha male.
That there are a few animal sims out there, and I never liked any one of them. I played 2 of them. The most famous of which being Tokyo Jungle, and yeah, I think you would need to anthropomorphize.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, you would definitely.
You can't be like real life animals, or it would have to be something like Far Cry Primal, which I thought was a terrific idea for a game.
Oh yeah. Definitely being set in the caveman days was an interesting and new experience.
Mm-hmm.
Steam, do you have any ideas?
Well, I recently saw a YouTube video, which is called Death and Elsie. It's like a 3-part thing, and it was a narrator animation thing. It was really good. And yeah, I think it could turn into a game. It's like more of a because I still think about that video, and I've only seen it like a few days ago. But it's a video where Death felt something in his heart when he saw this little girl, which he was going to take her soul, because she was so genuine and so nice. Unfortunately, he had to take her soul because he couldn't break the rules. But what happened was that he got the soul, and he had a friend for a while. In the animation, it was like, oh, there's an elephant, and they went to the gates, and the death was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. But in the game, I kind of see a little more in it, but like I would love it to be like Death and Elsie, but at the same time, the same animation style as that beautiful animation it was, and it's kind of like helping Death with some things.
Have you ever seen the movie Meet Joe Black?
No.
Oh, it was a really terrible Brad Pitt movie from I think the late '90s. Pardon my stutter, but it was one of those movies that was designed in a lab to win Oscars, and it sucked because it was designed in a lab to win Oscars.
Yeah.
But really interesting concept. Death takes over the body of a recently deceased man and gives an old guy, played by Anthony Hopkins, one last chance at life. He gets, so much more time to live so long as he can keep Death entertained. And through the course of the movie, you get to explore the sort of like the mindset of what an omnipresent, omnipotent being like Death would be on a human scale. And it is an amazing, like, on paper, it sounds like an amazing exploration of human psychology on that core level of our own mortality. But when you design a movie to win Oscars, you don't really get that kind of nuance.
Now that I think about it, I think that Moonlight was also designed in a lab to win Oscars, and I think it did win a few.
Well, the game I had in mind is more of like it's more of like to do with teaching Death how to care. Also, well, a little girl trying to and failing, but trying to, and also I in the little short series I saw in YouTube, I did kind of see like a message in it. It's like life is meaningless, and that's why it's important to value life.
Yeah. That definitely sounds like you could do a lot with that. Seems to be it could probably be a branching story too. The choices you make affect Death's perception on humanity. Sorry, my stutter's acting up. I've been chain smoking since we started because I'm still kind of upset that I didn't get it my exact way. I want my way, and I want it now.
You need a hug, is what you need.
I've needed a hug for like a week.
Hey, dude, virtual hug.
I'm in constant need of a hug. What are you talking about?
Hey, Jason, can you F5 a little bit, man?
What's up?
Can you F5? You got a lot.
You sound like a robot.
Yes. I love
Jason.
Jason.
Just doesn't care about what we're talking about anymore. They're busy doxing each other.
That's Scotch. Just let Scotch be Scotch.
Scotch be Scotch.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. We have 15 minutes left, and I think I'll give the floor to Jason. Jason, favorite game based on story alone.
Oh, geez. I've been playing a lot of good story games lately. There was one about World War One. I think it's called The Great War, something, The Great War. And it's kind of an action-adventure kind of game with puzzle elements. And I cried at the end of that one.
Really? We were just talking about games that made us cry. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I got really attached to this one character. He was one of the main characters that you play. And I don't want to spoil it because it's such an experience. I do have gameplay footage on my channel of that game. Let me see if I can get the actual name of it.
I will be putting everybody's links in the description after the fact because this hangout was started really, really, really abruptly. But I will be linking everybody's channel after the fact. World War One. I think that's a resource that has kind of gone untapped. I mean, a few people tried it, but the problem is when a AAA game tries to do World War One, they essentially just take World War II and put it in the World War One era of technology.
Right. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. This was more of an indie type game, and heart involved in the game, and a lot of like lore. You could pick up diary fragments and read through and actually dig deep into the lore of World War One, which at the time I was listening to Hardcore History, and they had a series on World War One. And if you haven't heard Hardcore History, if you haven't listened to that podcast, I highly recommend it. You should give that a listen. I was listening today about the beginning of the nuclear age, and just about 3 hours of Dan Carlin talking about history is one of the best things.
Oh, yes.
I've had him recommended to me before, but I've never listened to any. I really should, though.
I've been meaning to do a history stream, but that's something I have to get like insane experts on the topic. I probably have to get Kraut and fucking my buddy Sage Kronsel, and a few other people, because I have this obsessive level of attention to detail when it comes to history, and
sure.
And I would definitely need people who could surpass me in that, because I do like feeling stupid. Shockingly, the
name of the game is Valiant Hearts: The Great War.
Oh, you know what? I was talking about Yahtzee Croshaw earlier, and I think he did a review on that, and he really seemed to like it. I believe the main character was a female spy.
That was one of the main characters, yes. No, Yahtzee Croshaw.
I know. I was just commenting on how the name sounded similar.
Yeah. I am probably the biggest Yahtzee fanboy there is.
Have you read his books?
I don't like novels, so no.
Yeah, he doesn't do that thing. He doesn't read.
Okay. Have you played his adventure games?
I did play his mobile game, because that's the only game I felt like getting, because up until very recently I didn't have money to spend on games. So
these were free games that he
really
built using the adventure game engine.
Oh
yeah, I'll have to dig those up and get you a link to those.
Absolutely, I would love to try those. Okay, so we got 10 minutes left. Is there any specific topics on games anybody would like to discuss?
Oh, and the other emotional reaction I got recently was from Postal 2 On,
What?
yeah. Well, it wasn't like, a sad emotional reaction. I was laughing my ass off playing the game because there's this point where you're trying to go to confessional at a Catholic church, and
Okay.
like you give your confessional and something happens. Well, what happens is these clones of Osama bin Laden, like all of these Muslims, come in and self-immolate themselves at the Catholic Church.
Really? Wow.
Burnt
Hashtag
offering.
Islamist cancer.
That's what I call a burnt offering.
Ooh. You know,
And the next day, if you go back to the church, instead of the name of the church, they scratched out part of it and then they wrote infidel because the Muslims took over the church.
that is hilarious.
Something I find very interesting is that oh shit, there's a port in never mind. I have to remember the fucking name.
Okay,
But
well-
there's a really interesting factoid having to do with that I need to remember.
Well, whilst Sinclair's trying to remember, pardon me, but non-sad reactions from video games. Very rarely will I get any kind of emotional reaction from a video game, but there was one time I exploded playing a video game. Years ago, I played Mass Effect 3. I mean, I had got it when it first came out. I had to play that because I was just so in love with Mass Effect 2 that, I did the whole midnight release and everything.
Mhm.
And I get to the story of Mass Effect 3, and it's winding down to the end, and it gets to the part where you fight Kai Lang. And I hated that guy. Throughout the whole game, I'm like, oh, God, I can't wait to kill this guy. I can't wait to kill this guy. And then, based on the choices that I made, he killed Thane Krios. And that pissed me off because I fucking loved Thane. I thought he was, probably the deepest, most intricate character in that entire world. And so you're fighting Kai Lang, and, you beat him and the cutscene starts and you're sitting at the computer getting whatever information you need to get, and he comes up behind you to try and stab you in the back, but you can swing around, bust his sword blade, and shank him with your little energy blade. And so when Shepard turns around, busts his sword, and shanks Kai Lang, and utters the phrase, "That was for Thane, you son of a bitch." This is like 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm playing because I marathon this shit. So when he says, "That was for Thane, you son of a bitch," I stood up on my bed and screamed, "You're damn fucking right it was!" And I'm pretty sure I woke up like half of my neighborhood because I'm playing this at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I finally get to kill that guy, and there's a cool tagline, and "That was for Thane, you son of a bitch." And this entire rush of just joy that this fucking guy that I had hated throughout the entire game is dead, and just this explosion of joy and emotion that just erupted from me was just a really amazing experience.
So those few times when you do show emotion, it's like an orgasm.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I try not to be a very emotional person, mainly because I have the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old, and my emotions don't really self-regulate. So I try and keep a lid on that. But when it does come, it fucking comes.
Orgasm. I get it.
Yeah,
But my idea is that people who are the least emotional are probably the most trustworthy when it comes to factual issues.
Yes,
In the sense in which that being emotionally detached decreases the amount of bias you have. And the way that I look at it, the people who are the most qualified to, in an unbiased way, comment on the human condition are people who are emotionally detached from it. It's the way that I think.
Yeah, this is actually why Dr. House was probably one of my favorite TV characters of all time, because his entire character arc was he didn't give a shit about the patient. It was all about it was all about the disease. So, so while somebody's dying and coughing up blood, House is going, yeah. So it's presenting by coughing up blood. That's interesting. So it's got to be something in the lungs, and he's like writing stuff down on his whiteboard while somebody's like dying on.
I've never seen House. Is House good?
House is
yeah.
it's one of the greatest shows of all time.
You will get bored.
If you like Sherlock Holmes and medical dramas mixed into one, you will like House.
Yes, and the fact that he was a drug addicted. The fact that he was a drug addict. Yeah, the fact that he was a drug addicted asshole made everything like 10 times better.
Right, Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, exactly. Because what was Sherlock?
Oh, I forgot you don't read.
I don't read novels, but yes, I do believe that Sherlock Holmes, he liked to inject cocaine. I think that was his vice of choice.
Just reach this. Shit.
Well, I find novels, there are some novels I do like I've read all the classic monster books, Dracula, Frankenstein. I even read Of Mice and Men when I was in jail, but I could never get into a novel because I just find them boring.
Oh, I finally remember what I was going to say earlier.
Please go ahead.
I want to let you finish the foe when you're getting into a novel.
Yeah. Yes, I do agree with Celestial Parsnip. Please reach for more things. But it's just I just find novels boring because you have to invest so much time into.
Well, I actually have that kind of mindset with novels, and then I looked at Kent Follett's work and went like, "Holy shit, there's sex in this."
Yes. I do.
And that's what got me reading.
Yeah. I do. However, I do get such a rush from reading various historical sources. Like, I am that kind of nerd that gets excited when he has to cross-reference between two books, and it's definitely an amazing deficiency because that's not normal. But
I don't know. I think it's just have to find a book that you personally like. Because if you're
really-
going to read a
Oh,
book
sorry.
and you're not interested in it, it most probably it's not for you.
yes, I do like writing my own stuff though. That is a very interesting thing. And actually, I will be writing some erotica for Miss Misa in the near future, and it will be and it will be narrated by my good friend in the chat, Celestial Parsnip, who has just the most amazing voice for reading dirty shit. I mean, I'm not gay, but I would fap to him reading erotica.
If a Megon isn't in it, it's a disgrace.
As the black
He will not-
dress slowly slipped down her shoulders.
Yeah, he will not be in it except as my personal footstool.
I'd like to be your footstool.
Well, now it just got weird.
Well, good. Now that
Yeah,
I
it
can
did.
say what I was going to say earlier. Somebody mentioned Muslims going into a Catholic church earlier, or a Christian church. Who was that?
That was me.
Yeah, and immolating themselves. And I'm blurry for some reason. All right, that's better. There's actually a small nation state called Malta in the Mediterranean, and it spent some time being owned and controlled by the Islamic Caliphates. I forget which one. It was the Umayyads, perhaps, but it was eventually reconquered by Christianity, by Christians. But it's still, even to this day, parts of it remain culturally Islamic, and you will find Christian churches that refer to Allah, because that's the local word for God.
Sure.
Which I find very interesting.
Yeah. Well,
I have something funny though.
yeah.
I live. Okay, so there's a church 2 streets from me. Sorry, there's a church like down the road from me. There's a synagogue 2 streets from me, and there is a fucking mosque literally just like quite a few streets away from me, like about 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very religious quarter close to where I live. Basically, there's one church on. They have a 4-way intersection, and 3 of the 4 corners has a church on it with a different confession. A little bit down the street, there's an Orthodox church. A little bit down the street from that is a Catholic church, and then there's a Jewish synagogue. So there's like a whole religious quarter of this goddamn town, where all the churches are.
Huh.
I find very weird.
Yeah. Where I live in rural. Oh, bye, Jason. Where I live in. Yeah, where I live in rural Illinois, we have two options. That would be your Catholic church, which is the tallest building in town, and your various forms of Protestant. There is no mosque, there is no synagogue, and it's not like we have a distaste for any of that stuff. It's just that stuff never migrated. Yeah. It just never migrated here.
Actually, a lot of people were worried that it's not going to take over England and all that stuff. Actually, a lot of millennials are like saying they're pagan.
Yeah,
like they're saying they're pagan, but they know nothing about paganism.
Yeah, it's just an edgy thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And there are some people who will take it seriously.
I'm just going like, well, at least they're not being too stupid.
Well, there are some. I have seen some anti-SJWs take that seriously. There's a friend of mine, a traditionalist friend of mine called Fritz Imperial, who made a video called "Neo-Pagans Hate" or "Neo-Pagans Love Radical Islam," just basically taking people at their word a little bit too much. I like Fritz. I think he misjudges things sometimes. But what was I going to say?
Well, modern day paganism is very different.
Modern day paganism is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I know.
It's basically agnosticism with a funny name, with a funny kink.
Yep.
It's the same with Satanism.
The history of paganism is interesting. I wouldn't believe the shit, but yeah, it's interesting.
Agnosticism has some funny little kinks to it.
What variety of paganism? Because, well, paganism comes in various flavors. Which specific flavor of paganism are you talking about?
Which aspect? There's a lot of. Well. Okay, I know people are going to say, oh, paganism, witchcraft are so different. No, they're not. Shut up. I'd love this argument. No, shut up. They were.
Well, actually, not always, because
they're kind of like vegans, I guess.
Yeah.
But we would.
Yeah, well, not always. I mean, my namesake and my avatar are actually modeled off of a pagan deity. But yeah, I mean,
well, that's just one aspect.
Yeah,
there's many. But...
Yeah, the neo-paganism probably modeled after a combination of Western Germanic and Druidic influences. I do notice a lot of them like Odin.
Who doesn't like Odin?
Like
shit!
Odin.
What's up, Jason?
What's up, dudes?
Who's this?
This is Jason.
God, he's wearing that
Brazil.
hat.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
You look like Ed Verdeesen.
Jason, I
Oh
said
God!
steampunk.
Please don't mention.
Jason, I said steampunk goggles.
I haven't
not
had a chance to get steampunk goggles yet.
No, do you know who you look like to me? You know who you look almost exactly like, especially in that hat? You look almost exactly like Vermin Supreme.
Okay.
From
Do you know anybody here know who Vermin Supreme is?
no, sir.
No, he's an American joke candidate. He looks like a wizard.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually saw that
The
guy's
guy-
video on YouTube during the election. That's right.
The guy with the boot on his head.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, great. Cool.
That's who you look like.
No. Take the sunglasses off and replace them with steampunk goggles, like I said.
I'm gonna.
You're not the
You know
boss
what?
of me.
I will meet you halfway and get some Ozzy Osbourne glasses.
All right, guys. I
Okay,
hate
yeah.
to cut this off, especially since Jason is on face cam. I mean, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and present.
You got to be on face cam too.
Fine. I guess since everybody else is doing it, I'll jump off the bridge too. All right. Okay, so for the last little bit of this live stream, let's everybody talk about themselves. I will stop presenting Jason so everybody can have their time in the sun. So from my left to right, please shill yourself and shill your channel. Jason.
All right, I make videos about idiots, and then I also stream games, and I have a lot of fun with my friends. I am rebooting my old weekly game show called The Filthy Sea Lions. Still in the process of doing that, and Marty will link me in the description. Thank you.
Yes, I will. All right, Miss Steam. Hopefully you have something to reach for while you're talking.
1 second. The Filthy Sea Lions, is that supposed to be a Nazi reference?
No. It's back during the whole Gamergate thing when people were really like cutting into the debates online. They came up with the term sea lion to describe somebody who was trying to argue with you in a very polite, very well-cited fashion. Basically, all of us were dubbed sea lions.
Accused of sea lining.
Yeah, because we were attempting to have a very valid argument against people who just, didn't want to hear that, please educate yourself.
Okay.
All right, so Miss Steam.
Okay. Well, I'm Miss Steam. I have a YouTube channel and
Boobs.
and go and subscribe. I'm making content, but it's taking a while.
I didn't actually think she would reach for something, but thank you very much. All right, and my good friend Sinclair.
Oh, my name is St. Clair. I make videos focusing on history and philosophy, and I'm doing a Let's Play. I'm currently working on a Let's Play for Shadow of Mordor. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, go ahead and give me a subscription. I'm trying to be just as successful as Marty doing this.
He thinks I'm successful.
He started out behind me, and then he just completely passed me and just about all of my friends.
That has nothing to do with the quality of my content. My content.
No, it doesn't.
It is overall shit. I just happen to know a couple of people.
Yeah. You got lucky.
Yeah.
You got lucky.
Yeah. This is one instance where it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right. One more thing. If you follow me on Twitter, I do occasionally post nudes, so you gotta be okay with that.
Yes, he has the best male ass on Twitter. I can confirm. All right. I would like to thank all 18 of you that are still here. I very much appreciate you guys stopping by to watch us talk about gaming and other nerdy things. And as always, please have yourselves a lovely day. And again, I am very sorry for that nonsense that happened earlier.
Stop it.